Chase, what's happening?
How's it
How are
going?
you?
I'm pretty good.
Good. It's episode
Yeah.
430 if you are feeling young and spry.
Oh god, that's so many episodes.
It's a lot of podcast. It is
Are we?
nine.
It's it. Sorry to interrupt, but like it's a ways from now. But are we gonna do something for 500?
Yeah,
We should do
absolutely.
something for 500.
I think the only time we did like a triple digit lap around was on 100.
That sounds right.
We started this in 2016, so
Yeah.
we've almost been doing this for a decade, which is crazy. And we'll be doing 500 of these. It's weird. I remember when we started like gauging the amount of episodes that like Giant Bomb or Giant Bomb East had out. I'm like, that isn't a lot of podcast. And it's just funny. Like it just kind of we've maintained a really good cadence, all things considered. We've had a few adjustments, but for the most part, we've been doing the good.
We haven't taken a lot of weeks off either. We've had a handful, and we take off for holiday weekends and things like that. But oof, man,
doing it, man.
430 is a lot, but almost to 500. We'll have to do something big for that.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. I'll have to do the math and see where. I mean, obviously things come up and we have adjustments, but I'll try and gauge like, hey, when would this be falling around, and maybe we could do something where we have friends of the show pop through and talk a little bit.
Wasn't it crazy where we almost had episode 420 on 420?
It was like, had it not been on a Sunday, we would have lined it in. And like, that's crazy. Like all the things that like we've had to adjust, especially last year with me moving and then just other things going on. The brief period where we didn't do the show on a weekly cadence, I think it was like 2 months where we did one episode a month. But yeah, it's pretty wild.
Are there any other numbers that we care about that would be a big deal?
Well, we've covered 420. We didn't do anything for 69. We did something for 100.
We didn't do anything for 314. Like that's the St. Louis.
We didn't do 314. I think I played 311 on 311.
Yeah, we definitely made 311 jokes on 311. Sure. I mean, we've got 666. We can play the podcast back.
Do it for the devil
for that one.
Yeah, do it for the devil. That's a Doom only episode. Yeah, I think that there's some cool stuff there, and I feel like our show, if you're familiar with our show, you're able to set to some of the big events. Like we're always going to cover the Steam Next Fest on one of our streams. We're going to talk about it on the show. We do stuff for Summer Games. We do stuff for the Game Awards. We do stuff for our Game of the Year. The only thing we didn't do this year is we typically would do around June a like mid-year check-in on favorite games and games we need to finish.
I mean, we could just do that tonight. We could just look at our shit and talk about it.
Yeah. I'm cool with that too.
Anything else going on?
Yeah, I know we got a deep dive this month. I got an idea for. I'm excited about that. But yeah, this is a what you've been playing episode. We'll probably talk a bit about this. Maybe we'll do that. Like I think we only have like 2, maybe 3-ish games to get into tonight to talk through. Yeah, not a ton. So let's do that. Let's do like on the back half of the episode, we'll do our check-in on like, hey, what's still standing out for you, and what is more importantly standing out on your backlog that you want to get back to for Game of the Year.
I think that's more. I mean, games that are coming down the line, I don't really want to look down the list.
No.
Especially when we basically
not looking
do
ahead
that for our preview episodes. But but at least like what's come out so far. What do we think the other person needs to play? Bobby will just list off a ton of games I need to play, and I'll go, I don't know.
I got a lot of games for you.
And Bobby would be like, I did play that. I played 30 hours of that. What are you talking about? And I go, oh, sorry. Okay.
What is the planet in Interstellar? Like I move in hours, Chase moves in minutes. Is that like 1 minute of gameplay for Chase is like 7 hours of gameplay for me?
Sure. Yeah. There you go.
Okay.
That'll work.
Well, we are going to get into some games tonight. We are covering at least 3. We're going to talk more about Death Stranding 2 on the beach. We're going to check in on Gundam G Generation Eternal. And then if you were lucky enough to tune in and watch Pro Gamers on Monday night, Chase and I played a new game that's in early access called Nine Kings, and we have a lot of thoughts on that too. So those are the 3 games we're going to cover, and then we'll break down some of the high water marks, and then most importantly, like what we need to get back to for our Game of the Year journey. Chase, I'd love to talk to you about Death Stranding 2 on the beach if you'd allow me.
Yeah, be a little careful in what you say because it's still a game that I know I'm gonna play. I can't say I'm gonna pick it up anymore because I may have already done that.
Good. I'm really hoping you will. I will tell you that my enjoyment for Death Stranding 2 on the beach continues at a sharp incline upwards.
Wow.
Yes.
I'm impressed.
Yeah. And we'll talk about that. I have, do you understand like where the game takes place, or is that a spoiler for you?
I mean,
geographically,
you've already talked about like going to Mexico.
Okay.
So I know that part at least.
I don't think it's like huge for like anything but you go to another continent after that. Okay. So I am there, and the loop so far is the starting area in Mexico. You have like 3, maybe 4, but I think it's 3 for sure. Clients, so to speak, that you can level up to 5-star and get some really, really good early game stuff from them, like silenced weapons. You can get new colors to customize with. And I can't remember if this is how it was in the first game, but with each star, you got a new individual specific improvement. So like it could be like if there's one person you went to that gave you a shotgun when you just met them and connected to the network, as you progress upwards with them, you get better versions of a shotgun. And so there's somebody I got that has a sniper rifle, and if you maxed out that social link, it became a silenced lightweight version of it, so it didn't impact your storage as much. And
is killing people still frowned upon? Like that?
Oh yeah, you don't. Yeah, that's a huge no. That's a void out, isn't that what they call those? Where
I can't remember.
Basically, like, everything blows up.
So you getting a sniper rifle, how useful is that for you?
It's a trank dart, so it works out really well.
Yeah.
They have you have RP or RB, which are rubber bullets. Those only work against humans. You have MP, which are multi-purpose bullets. They can work against humans and BTs. And then you get tranks, which can only work against humans if they're not wearing helmets or armor. So you kind of got to know what you're up against. And then it also allows you to choose how you want to approach, like with what gear you're carrying. This is such a fucking like video game. It is so tactile and clicky and just like invasive in the way you think about it. It is crazy, especially if you're a fool like me and you decided, well, if I'm already maxing out one of these social links, why wouldn't I just do everybody else here? Because when you deliver a package to somebody, there's other lost packages that you have to go and take to the other person. And then you're just like, what's my best route? And how can I make my route as fast and as accessible as possible? And it's automation at that point, and my brain starts to get really happy with that. But then the game story comes out. And this is where, like, I just need to talk to you a little bit as like the one person in my life that probably knows the most about Kojima.
Yeah, I guess like by default, but
by default,
yeah. You didn't finish the original Death Stranding.
No, I got to the mountains and then I said nah. Because I really like this is the same thing that happened. Like I was like, oh cool, we built this road. Oh cool, I have a zip line, and like I loved all that. But this one, like, I think Death Stranding 2 is leaps and bounds more accessible and more enjoyable at this point in the game than Death Stranding 1 ever was. But the story is remarkably stupid, and it is remarkably up its own ass in a way that like I kind of have to salute that it's this confident in what it's doing. And more importantly, that Kojima has somehow convinced very good actors and actresses that have a very rich tenure to say some of the most dumb shit I've ever heard in my entire life.
Well, here's the thing. One, I'm not trying to call anybody out specifically. In fact, I'm trying to call people out broadly.
Yeah.
Actors are fucking stupid.
Agreed.
Like almost all of them are really stupid in that they are perfectly fine saying whatever it is you're gonna have them say. There is something, I don't know. I don't think actors are good philosophers or are good intellectuals. So I don't. I think it's really easy for them to get caught up in the auteurness of I'm talking to this
To Kojima.
incredible, like this very popular
Yeah.
Japanese video game developer, Hideo Kojima. I've heard so many great things that I will also say that he is great. I think Lemmings is too strong, but I also think that they get caught up in the hype,
Yeah.
and it's really easy for an actor to get caught up in the hype.
That's fair.
Do I think Mads Mikkelsen's really cool? Fuck yeah, I do. Do I think Mads Mikkelsen is a genius? No, I don't think so. I think
fair.
he just, especially when he came out at the Summer Games Fest and was talking about Lashif coming to Hitman or the James Bond Hitman stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know, brother. I don't. Like, well, I'd rather you read stuff off a script and not.
I think that's fair.
Not try to shoot from the hip on this one. Maybe don't.
Well, this also is kind of an experience for myself, and I think we talked about 430 episodes of this show. It rubs off on me, at least, in a way where I am distinctively different in a lot of ways as I've gotten older, but also in like what I pursue in these types of games, of things or expectations that games need to meet me where I'm at, and sometimes I just need to meet the game where it's at. And I think that's a really cool thing to like find myself in. And here, I didn't ever want to play Death Stranding 1 or 2 for the story. Like, I thought it was like just an absurd game about carrying packages, and it is. And I really like doing that absurd thing of this game. And I think the combat's been improved a heck of a lot. And while actors are dumb, to your point, I think that they have a range that you don't typically when you look at games like this. And like Lisa Doe, who is Fragile from the first game, is back in this one. She's an incredible actress. And the technology that Kojima does have in partnership with the engine that Guerrilla's built, that's in the horizon, I can't remember the name of it right now, you get a performance here that you don't typically get in a game beyond just line delivery. And there's a lot of stuff she's doing with her face. There's one sequence with her where she's like escaping something, and the camera gets mounted basically on the front of a bike. And you're just like, you have this really interesting shot of her face, and there's no dialogue, but she's acting the whole time and killing it. And I'm like, wow, I think somebody who is obsessed with movies like Kojima has an influence on like cinematography in his games. I think the dude writes like an asshole. And I think that his naming conventions are fucking stupid. And I don't care if you're Tar Man, Doll Man, or any of the above. It's fucking stupid. And I don't need that to enjoy this game. The question becomes, how much more of it will he interject into the game that I like?
Yeah, it is funny when I think about somebody like Dan Reichert, who I'm not the biggest fan of.
Sure.
But he loves Kojima, and he loves Kojima's stories, and he thinks they're all super smart.
Yeah.
And and when you look at it, and a guy is named Die Hardman, and somebody like Dan Reichert's like, oh, just it's genius, brother. I can't believe he's
dude. It gets so much worse
form
here.
Of art. And you're like, you know what? That kind of speaks volumes. Like, yeah, Kojima like has video game stories are not known for being very thoughtful. They're not. You should just go read a book. Like the best video game story gets its shit kicked in by an average novel.
Yeah,
it's just the truth. It still is. There are some exceptions, but it's basically how things go. And I think Kojima is still on the higher average of reaching for more ambitiousness in video game storytelling. And I think because he's playing in this smaller pond of video games versus novels, you get a little bit more leeway, and you don't have to do as much to get as much praise. Just the fact that he's making the attempt when so many other people aren't is impressive, and I think he's been able to coast on that just by making a movie reference, or like you said right there, like just doing something with cinematography that most games just wouldn't even bother with or wouldn't consider. He's at least considering it. Is he nailing it every time? Fuck no. But he's making an effort that I think some people latch on to, and I can understand that part of it for sure.
I'll wrap it up with this. Like I talked a lot about it last week. I've talked more than I thought I would this week. I really like this game. I really do. Like, I think this is a fun, very cool video game. I've put a lot of time into these deliveries, and I've got a lot of road built, which I think is cool, and the upgrades, and I'm just really digging all. It's like walking through a casino. Like, everybody has their bells and whistles and lights. You hit them, they go off. You get that dopamine hit when you get that high S rank on a delivery. And I like the idea of optimization and automation in this game, and like, how much better can I do this? And that's what I love about it. And I think the combat is still much weaker in comparison to that element of it, but it has been vastly improved here, and all the quality of life stuff for it. I'm really curious. I know that you enjoyed that first one a hell of a lot more than I did. I would love to know your thoughts, and we'll talk story whenever you get to that point on this show. So I'll probably not be checking on it till you do.
Yeah, I'm excited to get started on it at some point. I was considering doing it, yesterday when I downloaded it. I was like, oh, I've got a full evening to myself. I could just play this video game. And then I got caught up in other bullshit, and then it was like 9:30, and I was like, do I want to start playing a game at 9:30? Especially if
you'll
it's
have some fucked up
there's
dreams.
Probably going to be like an hour of cutscenes at the beginning.
There's a lot
at
that beginning.
Like, I'm not. So I was like, I'll wait for a weekend. I'll wait for like a full day or evening where I can just start to like really sink my teeth in.
Well, maybe we'll have more hot topics on that next week then.
Sure. Do you mind if I go next?
Yeah.
And get my thing out of the way, and then we can talk about the last one together.
Yeah, let's do it, man. So you're talking about Gundam G Generation, right?
Yeah, SD Gundam G Generation Eternal. You were talking about, the slot machine or automation stuff, and things. You kind of get into that zone. And I am also very unfortunately in that zone with this game.
Is this the hang on, just for my this is the Gacha version of this game?
Gacha. Yeah,
okay. Gacha. And last time you talked about it, it had not got you money yet.
Yeah.
Has it got you money?
It's got you $4. I got like one of the introductory packs that is the cheapest thing.
First taste is free, I know.
Yeah, I know. Well, no, first taste is $4. But fair. Yes, I decided to throw in $4, and it went fine. I got the unit I wanted out of it, so good for me, I guess. This game makes me mad. It just makes me mad when I play it. Not because it's a bad game. I think it's generally okay. We talked about it before. It makes me mad that this is the game that it is, instead of being another one of the G Generation games they've made in the past that was a full game, not a gacha game.
Yeah.
Had the content there, wasn't trying to bilk you out of a couple bucks every day. That stuff still.
This has all the currency shit in it too, I'm guessing.
Yeah, the stamina bars and all the different currency things that you're getting, and upgrade materials.
Those old chestnuts.
Shit. Yeah, all that stuff still annoys me, and every time I pick it up, I'm like, man, I wish I could just be playing a real
Death Stranding 2? Oh, sorry.
No, well, at least like a real G Generation game, which I could also do. I could just pick up my Switch and go back to Cross-Rays.
Yeah, but you don't like the Switch, so why would you?
It's not true. I love the Switch. But there is also just an ease to playing this game, to just pick it up, throw a little bit of time into it, do my dailies, and have a decent time, and get some cool units every once in a while, and think about Gundam and be able to turn it around in my head, which is nice. I ended up watching the newest Gundam show, finishing that, Gundam G Quux, and that show is it has some interesting ideas that it does not follow through on basically any of them. But some of the robots are cool, and those robots are in G Generation Eternal now, or a couple of them are. And it's cool to play with those new robots, and that's not something I could do with Cross Race, because it is stuck in, we made this one, it has all the stuff that we had in it, and anything that comes out after, we're not touching. That's for the next game. And that's the nice thing about a gacha game, is being a live servicey game in that way. They are constantly putting in new units and new things and new story pieces, and so it's like a living, thriving game that's cool. I enjoy seeing the new stuff out of there, but I know that it is also trying to take my money a couple dollars at a time. It's tough. It's really tough.
I mean, look, I don't think there's anything wrong with playing gacha games.
No, not inherently. We talked about this the last time we talked about it. It's the opportunity cost. Do I wish Bandai Namco would have spent their time and money developing a real SD Gundam game that I could be enjoying and give like a full-throated support to? Absolutely. Yeah. And this is what they made instead, because I'm sure it's going to make them multiple magnitudes more money than those other games did. And it's just sad to me that that's how things are going, because that's what makes them money, or makes them more money. They probably would have made money fine with another SD Gundam real game, but they decided this is the way to go.
But you're liking it, and you're playing it on your iPad.
Liking's a strong word, but I am playing it. Okay. I'm playing on my iPad, and it works fine there, and it's nice to just jump in every once in a while. And I will say I'm not immune to it. I am a bit of a min-max sicko when it comes to stamina bars and things like that.
Sure.
And knowing, because we also talked about this last week, but I've also I haven't really been playing Bravely Default, but I've been checking in to do the village restoration stuff, which is all stamina meters and timers. And I'm about ready to finish the village at this point. I only have a few upgrades left, and I still have only put 8 to 10 hours in the actual game. Like I'm not playing the game correctly.
I'm getting very bad flashbacks of you playing Ni no Kuni 2, where you would leave the PlayStation on because the coffers thing that would accrue over that for like building out the castle or the kingdom village part, you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's like the exact same shit. Yeah, right?
It totally is.
Okay.
And it's like, oh, well, I don't need to play the game. I could just like set up these timers and then go to bed, and then when I wake up tomorrow, these timers will be done, and then I also don't have to play the game. Then I could just set up new timers and then go to work, and then when I come back from work, then hey, the timers are done. Well, I can set up new timers. And it is a vicious cycle like that. I'm not really playing these games, but I am, putting time into these games. And I think SD Gundam has some of that as well, where I am just like checking in, knowing that, okay, I'm getting back so much stamina by this time, and I know I can spend 20 of that stamina to go do this mission. And then I can also set it to auto battle. So am I really playing this video game? I don't know. I'm just kind of like auto battling stuff. I do think gachas are interesting. And I did want to talk about this a little bit more. I know we've got other stuff to talk about, but I think it's interesting to talk about gachas in terms of actually wants you to play the video game. So think about, here's a game that we both played, which is the Pokemon trading card game Pocket. That game doesn't really want you to play the game. Like playing the actual card game, it puts some incentives for you to do that, but it also very prominently says, do you want to auto battle all these things? And if you set up your deck right, if you get the cards, and also I would say much more of the game is about just collecting the cards, like ripping your 2 packs a day, getting the cards that you have, and building a collection and finishing out collections. But the other part of that game is, hey, we do have the battling feature in here, and we've built it so you can battle, and you can battle. You can do ranked battles online, and for those you can't auto. I'm pretty sure you can't.
Yeah.
Or if you could, you don't want to, because the auto won't play as well as you will, hopefully. But like that game also has a bunch of solo missions to play, and sometimes they'll have events where you get specific promo cards by playing against these decks.
Right.
Decks that are out there. And what I have found is that I will build a specific deck that will counter the event deck for, you know, that couple week period or whatever, and then play it a couple times myself against the computer, or put it on auto at least, and watch the games being played out to see where the strengths and weaknesses are, and see, you know, is this something that the auto battler can take care of by itself, or do I need to go in and make decisions at some point, or do I need to change out some cards to optimize this to the point that I don't need to? How can I automate this? How can I Bobby Peas this and farm it?
Now we're fucking talking.
Yeah.
Now some fucking good food. Finally.
And that's what I've been doing with that. And so at some point you're just like, okay, yep, I've got my steel deck ready and good to go. It's going to take out this fairy deck that's psychic, but they're fairies. So the steel works great against them. So can I get this to have the auto battler win, you know, 80% of the time? That's good enough for me. That's fine. We'll make that work, and we'll just grind out the materials that way. And the SD Gundam game feels like it's not. The game kind of wants you to play it. Like it does have an auto battle feature, and you certainly can use it. But the auto battler in that is making decisions that are really not the best. Like it is sure. Just going, okay, what your unit is the closest to this enemy unit, I'm going to go and I'm going to hit that. I'm not going to care about how much damage it could do back to me, whether another unit should be attacking that instead, so this one can go for a further unit that's more high value. It's just going to attack the closest thing it possibly can with as much power as it possibly can, and if it kills it, great, and if it doesn't, well, whatever.
I think on gacha games, what's interesting to me is, like, let's talk like there's a lot that I can unpack here, but I think one of the interesting things about gacha games in comparison to other types of games, like I'm playing Death Stranding, there's a lot of friction in that game by design. Yeah. And there's the way that you overcome the friction in Death Stranding is really through progression. Like your skill doesn't get much better because the gear you get and the things that come from leveling up the gear, like the roads or the equipment to overcome that removes the friction. Other games like a Dark Souls or Souls-like in general, the friction is that your skill is not adequate for what the game gives you early on. And you can get things to progress that, but you still have to have skill to do it. Point in case, there's people who go and do like basically naked runs on those games where they have a club and beat people. Gacha games, the friction is money. Like everything in those games is stacked so thick of friction, and the only way to really remove that is time and money. And those two things can kind of be interchanged on the importance because they kind of dictate one another.
And there's sometimes a skill in there, but the skill
few and far between.
The skill can often be out-crept by the money. Like if I put in more money, I don't need as much skill. Correct. And that is somewhat understandable, but I think there's also philosophies that you'll get from different gacha games where they want you to enjoy playing the game and want you to put effort in playing the game. And yes, we want you to spend the money for sure, but we want you to actually play it. I think Fire Emblem Heroes, another gacha game I put a lot of time and a decent amount of money into. That's a game.
Swimsuits aren't cheap.
You're goddamn right. They're really less fabric yet more expensive.
I know.
Go figure. But that's a game that I think wants you to play it. It has auto battle features, but there are.
But that's not where the friction is.
Yeah, but because you can only have 4 units, it's really important to have good units or good units that can counter the units that you're going against. And so you want to get more of the banners to get more of the characters because those characters are power crept in a way. But often you've set up, either the computer does or the other people that you're playing against will set up in a way where this unit hard counters this other kind of unit, and then this other unit that I have hard counters that second type of unit. So it's hard to play that automatically because the computer will just kind of throw itself at whatever. It does have like some sort of AI that's going on in there to try to pick slightly better targets. But the you will be able to screw yourself by doing the automatic in that one. You want
Sure.
to play the game so you can take advantage of your better units and those hard counters in there. Whereas something like Pokemon, like once you set up one hard counter to the deck, and also because that game is so geared towards single color decks, like that
Mm-hmm.
you could play a deck with lightning energy and grass energy, but you're just fucking yourself over at that point. The game doesn't want that. The
100%.
game, because the things that you're facing are almost always single color decks. So you just want to play the color deck that counters that
Can
other
beat it.
color.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
then the auto can just handle it by itself. And Gundam is kind of somewhere in the middle where there are certain missions that, yeah, you could absolutely, like, my guys will just steamroll this stuff or it'll
Mm-hmm.
be fine. There's a type of mission that's out right now. It's a limited time event, and there are a handful of like really difficult fights. And I'm at the point where I've got so much good stuff that for some of those fights, some of those expert level fights, I can just let the auto battle take care of it, and it will eventually get there. But there are some other ones in that same level that I could definitely not let the auto battle handle. My
Yeah.
guys will get destroyed. I can do it myself if I really put the time into. So how can I, balance what's going on here? And then that game also gives you a certain amount of skips per day, so I can go, okay, well, I'll do my skips on the one that I have to do myself, and then the one that I can just auto battle, I can grind that one out myself for the rest of it. It's
I've never
interesting where the
understood
time goes into.
where people get like, oh, I don't want to be overpowered by the time I get to this point in the game. Like, motherfucker, I love being overpowered.
I also love being like I'm a huge fan of playing RPGs and grinding them out and just
Yes.
getting
That's exactly
massive
what happened in
guys.
Clair
And
Obscur. I one
I love
shot the
seeing
main boss.
9999. Like
Yes, dude.
it's addictive. It's
It
addictive to
is.
see that big number. I wrote a
It,
thing for Gamers on the Go at one point. It's somewhere on my Tumblr blog that like 9999 is the best number in video games.
it's so good. And I mean, one of the, you can undo it a bit on Claire, but anyway, I agree with you. And I think that there's something to be said about like overcoming that, because if you can overcome those obstacles in an RPG or JRPG early on, like, I think that's more challenging because you are resource limited. Usually there are things that are sometimes gated by progression in those games as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like, I think gacha games are dangerous in the wrong, like anything on the internet or anything that you consume. You need to be able to like monitor it. And these are games that are designed to be very good at getting you to spend money. And just be mindful, I think, like, but have fun. Like, if you are capable and you're not hurting anybody and you're not hurting yourself, more importantly, like, play a game, have fun with it. Just recognize, like, look for the patterns. Like, they are the same across all these games. And
the patterns are, but like, yeah, there is something. It's interesting how these things have also kind of evolved, because I think about a Fire Emblem Heroes, which I talked about having more stuff in there that you want to play yourself.
Same with Zenless
Less,
Zone Zero.
yeah, like less automation for some of those. But then I think about, and I need to preface that this is a game that I am not playing and I'm not going to play. I promise. I am not going to play Uma Musume. Bobby, do you know what Uma Musume is?
I'm never going to try and say it.
About it.
Not let alone play it.
This is the horse girl raising and racing game. This is about anime girls who slightly resemble horses. No, that's a different thing. That's just dress up.
Oh, that's just dress up without horses. Got it. Okay.
Yes, I mean there might be a horse in there, but it's not a horse girl. These are all girls that look like horses, or horses that look like girls. You tell me.
What do you think people do to that?
You know what they do to it.
Yeah.
But the thing about that game, and I heard Austin Walker talk about it on Side Story, or not it's one of the people that was brought on Side Story. Austin is also not playing the horse girl gacha game, but maybe he will. I don't know.
Everybody is apparently.
The thing with that game is that you are doing all the raising and like all the stuff before the race. You're doing all that prep work, and then when you get into the race is completely automatic. You cannot do anything once the race has started. It's just how you've set your character up and whether the die rolls go in your favor. And I think that's really interesting that is, that's the big new gacha game from Psy Games, who are also the ones who do Grand Blue Fantasy. So they know gacha games. They've taken a lot of people's money over the years, and this is kind of the one that is their passion project. Like Grand Blue is the one that makes them all the money, and they're like, let's do this one about horse girls. But I think it's really interesting that here is a game that has found a way for you to play it without playing it. Like when you get into the meat of the game, what you think would be the racing part. Like, okay, are you gonna have to make decisions in the race? Are you gonna have to do anything of that? And the game goes, fuck no, you just sit back and you watch those, or you skip them. The thing that you're doing is all the little prep work beforehand, and then you're just letting it automate itself out, which is, similar to what you do in a lot of your automation games. I spend all this time building these things, and then as soon as I turn on the switch, now it all works without me.
Yeah, I don't have to punch this any longer. I don't have to carry this any longer.
And I think that's really interesting, how maybe a philosophical of how gacha games have evolved a little bit from, here's us making a game where you have to actually actively play it and do stuff with it and think about it as you're going. And then here's the other one, this newer one that is, you still have to play it. You still have to do all the prep work. But then once the quote unquote game starts, you just are hands off.
Yeah.
And I think we are getting to a place where hands off is where more players want to be. Especially if you're playing something on a phone for 5 minutes.
100%.
Like there's something, navigating a menu and putting some points into this thing and going and buying this new thing and then just letting it play out. I think you're going to see more gacha games do things like that require less player involvement. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I do think it's an interesting thing to think about with this genre of games. Even if it's a genre of games I generally do not like, I think is inherently evil, and I wish I wasn't playing them. But god damn it, they took two of my favorite franchises and turned them into gacha games, so I guess I'm playing these.
That's awesome.
That's what three of my favorite franchises, I suppose, and that's what's happening. Anyway, that's the gacha game report. It's still bad. You still shouldn't play them, and I'm playing them anyway.
Well, let's see how this plays out. I know we were going to talk about some things. We went a little bit more in depth on 2 games, which is great. We should talk about those. I enjoyed the conversation. There's a third game you and I played on Monday. And what I'll preface is like, you should just go watch that stream. But if you're an audio listener only, like, hey, we stream games too. The game is Nine Kings. This is made by Sad Socket. It came out in early access on May 23rd, 2025. It is currently on sale for 35% less at the time of this recording, which is July 9th. Typically it'll set you back $15. This was a kind of a grab bag surprise game for Chase and I, and we walked away from that stream with a successful run. B, I think a relatively high bar set for what this game is and could be, and I loved it. It scratched all kinds of itches for me. And
I mean, it's kind of interesting coming off the Uma Musume talk, because it's very similar.
Yeah.
Like Nine Kings is a game where you do the prep. You build your units, or you build your constructions, your buffs, and you get all that stuff taken care of, and then the actual battle happens. You do get the ability to affect the battle in some way,
or you can auto the whole thing.
I'll talk about some games that are similar to that too, but it is mostly a game where you do all the setup and then you let the automation happen and see if you did well. I mean, it is taking, I think this game in particular is taking from a lot of video games.
Tons.
But it's doing it in a really smart way that I think is It's less ripping off. I wouldn't even call it homage exactly. I just think it's finding really smart ideas in a bunch of games and going, how can we use this to a different or more full extent? And they're finding real success with it.
They've put out Relic Dudes, which I don't know anything about. Under God.
Any other games.
Ending Tau is their next one. Seraph's Last Stand, and then Gods of Sand. This certainly seems to be like their biggest breakout hit so far, and well deserved. So the whole loop here, as Chase was calling out, you start with a 3x3 grid, and there is a little Mega Man-ness going with the other kingdoms because those give you abilities. They're tied to an enemy faction.
Yeah. So there are 9 kingdoms, as you might.
Yeah, 9 kingdoms.
9 kings, and you get to pick one of them, and then the other 8 are potential enemies. Not all 8, not all 9 are in the game right now.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're down. No, 7. There's 7 in there. Sorry.
Yeah, 7. They'll add some other ones here later. I think their roadmap says they're going for a year, and we'll see what happens then. But yes, you don't get all of them available right now, but you pick one, and that's your kingdom. Mm-hmm. And then you'll have 2, I think. You'll have 2 rivals that you face. And then
3.
Those can 3? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then those can change or add on to or subtract from as you make decisions in the game. But when you beat them, like Bobby said, that Mega Man quality is like you will get a selection of card options that will be from that kingdom. So you kind of get the spoils of them to add to your own kingdom in a way and try to find new synergies and bonuses like that.
And they're all color coded too.
Yeah. But I think that's an interesting way to do it compared to something like a Monster Train, which we played, which is you pick your faction and you pick your sub faction.
Yes.
And you can only get cards from those 2 factions when you go in. And I think it's interesting to say, this is my faction, and I will get some cards based on that because that's my faction. But also, when I take on other factions, I can get their stuff and
that's really cool.
Ways of synergizing them in new and cool ways.
And the other synergies that take place here, and like that's what this game is really about. It's min-maxing your synergies. So with this 3x3 grid, certain objects or cards will trigger based off of like adjacency or proximity to other things. And like I'll use what we did. So the blacksmith, anything adjacent to the blacksmith gets a 2% damage increase. And you can level any card up 3 times. And then there's other things that you can do that would trigger more. Like, hey, if this card has an enchantment, we're going to add a random thing to it and do this. Or, hey, this library is going to give you a 50% chance at the beginning of every turn to do something else with that. And so we put the blacksmith dead center, and that way it had 4 points it was touching, whether it be a construction or an army, it would get a boost off of it. And so that was always a cool way to touch that. It is a run-based game, and so outside of you having the map where it gives you all the choices, there are just sequence events that will always happen every so many turns. And those are things like a royal decree where you're going to get your boons. There's going to be other things where it's like, hey, you can expand your land out, and that's where you can choose where to put another tile down.
A shop where you can buy.
100%.
Yeah.
So it's smart. Like, I think those things work really well. Like, your kingdom builds and stays where it's at, and the world kind of moves around you. And then it goes into an auto battler like tower defense, where you've got these armies coming in, and depending on what you're doing, and I think, Chase, you were alluding to this earlier, your card, quote unquote, your card is the castle, and the castle is a ranged attack, at least with the King of Nothing deck that you start with. I ended up doing auto for most of it, and the game was you and I deciding what cards to keep and where to place them, and the battles were more or less predetermined at that point. Like, we knew what we were going to be putting out, and we knew it was going to do big damage. There's a few fights that we got into where we had some friction from those units, but for the most part,
did we know who we were going to fight before we fought them?
No, I don't believe. I think they just roll out, and you do. And there's not really like you can't prepare against them for that particular reason yet.
I mean, not exactly, but I think about another tower defense game like Kingdom Rush, where it goes, hey, we know your next wave, there's going to be flyers in this one. So you're like, oh, fuck, I probably should put down more arrow archer units here so I can deal with flyers, because I don't have anybody that deals with flyers right now. So I got to fix that. And I don't think this game has that, but it also, so far from what we saw, doesn't have a lot of specialty units that are, I mean, it does, but it doesn't have like, hey, this guy is so big and so armored, so he's not going to take much damage from
melee
stuff.
or like they're there to like shamans will be buffing attacks.
Yeah,
there's some that have like area effect.
One of the units we got really early was this thief assassin.
Ooh, yeah.
Which were great. And their big thing is that they can immediately teleport to the back line of the enemy. So if they have healers or they have some, squishy range guys out there, our guys can go in and massacre those.
Which they did.
They very much did. And then they've softened up everything else that they can just go in and take on the other guys. And our big soldiers on the front can handle everything until our thieves are ready to come in and pincer attack them. And that was a great strategy. It worked really well. It worked the whole time, basically. And then we got them even crazier because we upped their criticals by like 60% at one point.
And we were farming new ones.
We were farming new ones. We were getting more assassins every single round we were playing.
Yeah.
We started stacking poison stuff on them. And the poison thing is interesting because the poison is not fast. Like, that's not a fast kill. Like, you'd want to stack more criticals with your thieves for doing some of that. But the poison would be really good if the enemy had like one big strong unit that wasn't taking much damage from each individual hit, but maybe the poison was stacking on it in such a way that eventually it would be overcome by that.
I don't know how
that's my question about like not having like a preview of the fight that you're about to have. I think maybe, especially because it's an early access and they have time to implement things. That would be something I would like to see, to be able to make more of a plan of going, okay, these guys are using like big ballistas, we need to use this other type of unit, or we need to like strengthen this other type of unit that we have available to us.
I believe it's Dave Ballista, not Big guys. Ballista, but Dave Ballista.
Thank you.
The other thing I think that worked better for us that we didn't have as stacked as much, the more I've like reflected on it, and I've watched a few clips from that stream, the poison is true. Like, it wasn't lasting long enough to be meaningful, but we ended up getting Spark, which was kind of a attack that would trickle through other enemy units. I think that
lightning kind of thing.
Yeah, that would have been. I would have preferred to stack that up over poison based on the build we had there. Yeah. But there's a lot of things you can do synergy wise. Like this game,
there are, and the synergies can. Like, it seems like the game is built to have you break it in a very.
Hell yes.
It's a little unfair to just call all of these Balatro likes, because Balatro did not invent breaking the video game, not even breaking the roguelike. But it does seem like it saw Balatro and said, yeah, I like the way that you can stack things in a way that it feels like you are. It either feels like you're breaking the video game or you are breaking the video game, and either way, it doesn't matter. It feels like you are, and that's what's important. And this game also has that. The last boss that we fought in our run, they brought out this Champion of Greed, which was this giant unit,
huge,
and our our massive amount of thieves with all their poison damage and critical hits killed that thing instantly. Like,
one
they
hit,
just teleported behind it, and 1,000 little cuts. All slashed them at once and just murdered their big unit. And it was awesome. It was a moment where we cheered.
Yes.
Because we had built a team that was capable of doing something like that. Where if we built the team a little differently, if we focus more on soldiers that are only going to do the frontline stuff, maybe that Champion of Greed would have slow rolled over all of our guys because we didn't have something to stop it. So there is something about the way you get builds in that game. But it's,
man, I know we're talking about
something really addictive about it.
I agree. We mentioned this on Monday. We're currently workshopping like a new series for Casual Monday. I'm kind of itching to play more Nine Kings right now because I had so much fun with it.
I think that's a game, especially because it's in early access. I think that's a game that we can be very free about going back to whenever we want. I don't think it really makes sense as a series since it is one, not fully out, and two, I don't think it makes for a series. But it is a game that I think we can add to our shelf, as you've called it, of the casual. It feels a little premature to say casual hour Hall of Fame of grabbing them.
I don't know. It's pretty good,
but it did leave a really good first impression. I think it's a game that we can certainly.
And we got through the run in what, an hour?
Yes, it was perfect for our stream.
Yeah,
we finished it in 50 minutes, and
that's great.
Ready to go. It was great. Yep.
Here's what we can do, Chase. We got about 10 minutes left. We can dive into it, or we can make this the point of discussion next week.
I think we can talk about a couple games. And if we feel like we want to continue having that discussion later on another week, I think we can. But I think we can at least talk about a couple big games that maybe the other one hasn't played. I kind of already know your two at this point for that you're going to tell me because you've been telling me about them all year, more or less.
Yeah. Which ones are they?
I mean, Clair Obscur, you're going to
with the bullet.
push as hard as possible, and I understand that. And everybody's been telling me that I need to play it. I don't know if I'm going to love it as much as everybody else is, but it does sound like it has elements that I would generally enjoy.
I think you would. I mean, I can't say enough good things about that. Like, that is, I called it a masterpiece earlier this year. I said it's a generational game. I do stand on both of those very strongly still.
And at this point, I think it's more of a curiosity for me that I kind of got to know. I need to know whether you're all freaks, which
there's dozens of us.
Probably true. You guys are probably just weirdos. But in any case, I want to know, or maybe I'm a weirdo too. It's certainly possible.
What's the other one?
The other one, I mean, it's not fair because I did just buy it, but I mean, Death Stranding 2 feels like a game that I would be.
It would be weird for me to play that in 2025 and not you. That would be weird.
Yeah. Yes.
That'd be weird. Yeah, I think that those are both pretty high on what I'd recommend to you. You're never going to play Dune Awakening, so I don't think that I'll ever try to get you to play such a thing. I don't know if you or I both should go back to Blueprints at this point. Like, that's one that I keep looking at on, like.
I think I know everything I need to know about Blueprints at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I did eventually give in and listen to some podcasts and watch some YouTube videos. So I know enough. I could go in and do it myself at this point, maybe with another couple runs. But I think I'm satisfied with what I know about Blueprints.
And then another one that I would like to spend, there's really 3 games that I would like to go and put a little bit more time into. Number 1, The Root Trees Are Dead. I think you should too. That's another one that I think that you would dig. The other one is Eternal Strands. That was the game that came out early this year. We thought it looked really ambitious in our preview, and it's a super small indie team, and this is the one where they really stuck the landing on it. It's got a little like Shadow Colossus, a little Witcher 3, a little Horizon Forbidden West in it. All really cool stuff. Very, very neat game. I've been enjoying that one quite a bit. But, like way up there, not like anywhere close to Clair Obscur, but definitely like I would say in my top 3 as of right now is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. And I'm not done with it, and they've actually got a bunch of new DLC dropping for that, which I'm really excited about. But
for you, right? You're not telling me I need.
No, I'm just like mostly at this point, like these are games that I want to get back to that I think have had like a pretty profound impact on me. Let me double check my list really quick. I gotta switch over to the different note. One moment. I don't think you're going to check out Monster Hunter Wilds, and I've really bounced off that one for unfortunate reasons this year. But yeah, I think the ones I rattled off there, like If I could do anything this year, it would just get you to play Clair Obscur. Like that's really all it comes down to for me.
Yeah, I know. We'll see.
And I think you'll either become very surprised by how good it is, or you will become frustrated by the, I guess, like I'll just say style of that game aesthetically.
I really do not like the way it looks. I remember the preview when we
Yeah.
talked about it first, and me going, man, this game looks bad. Not looks bad as like looks like it will play bad, but I just do not like the art style. I don't like the character designs. That's going to be a big thing for me to get over, even when I play the game. I understand that already.
I think that the only thing I feel that you might be a bit premature in saying is it's young adult. Like it's really not. I think that's about it.
But like it's pulling from that, right? Like it definitely.
I wouldn't say. I don't really think so. It's like super, super, super deep, in my opinion, on especially like family stuff, like the type of turbulence and like unforgivable stuff that you have to sit with in families because it is family. Generational issues type stuff, like it's heavy, man. Like it's just a very it's not like this popcorn love affair type thing. It's a lot deeper than that.
Okay.
What do you got for me?
I don't really have a whole lot because you play all the video games.
That's true.
It's just your nature. I don't think you need to go back and play any more of this because I think you've played enough to know what it is. And
yeah.
I think I've
Dynasty?
definitely played enough to know what it is. It's absolutely Dynasty.
I need to play more of it. I need to play more.
I would like to see you finish one of the story branches, like have a faction and you
totally
get through
fair.
and you see credits. I would like to go back and at least play a second faction and get through it. I'd love to go play all three at some point, but that is a lot to ask from a game that does.
It plays really well on my handheld
feels
too.
Very similar. Yeah, but I think there's some cool stuff in there, and I want more Three Kingdom sickos out there with me. I'll
definitely do it, man. I want you to know, like, the reason I didn't continue playing it was nothing to do with the game. It just like,
it's just you knew what that game was, and there were new video games coming out.
I think it came out close to Clair Obscur, if I'm not mistaken. That was January.
There was some months gaps, but there were other games that were coming out around that time. Like you had a full plate. I'm surprised and delighted that you picked it up at all.
I thought it was really solid what I checked out. I need to go.
It seems like you like it.
Isn't there another one this year that I probably would end up playing before that? Isn't the Hyrule one this year too?
Oh, I can't remember.
I think it is. I'm gonna look that up while you're talking. Yeah, I'll look it up. You keep going.
The other one won't take you very long at all. I really do think you should play Despelote.
That's the soccer one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dude, for sure. That's on my list for sure. I can do that.
It's super short. It's not very expensive. It's got a really like different and stunning art style, in my opinion, and I think it tells a cool story, and it has some really fascinating moments in it. So I think it's worth your time. I think it's something that will get discussed at the end of the year, and I'd like to get your take on it too.
Yeah, man.
Curiosity wise.
By the way,
those are the two that I can think of.
So, I think at one point in time, the story takes place during the age of Tears of the Kingdom. It's called Age of Imprisonment. This says it's set for winter 2025, but I think I'm reading another thing here. It's not listed underneath the like more to come games on Nintendo for 2025. So we'll see.
Yeah, a little up in the air. One last one for me that I would like to go back and finish, and I should. It will not take me all that much time. I do want to finish to a T. I think I did really turn a corner on that game and have enjoyed it, and just need to put the time in and play it. And it's tough when so many other games seem to like they're flooding in that should, quote unquote, should take a priority. but that's one I would really like to go back and finish, just so I can say that I finished it.
I think you would appreciate South of Midnight the more I think about it.
Maybe.
I think that the performances and the art in that are really cool. The gameplay's fine. But that was a really cool kind of like gothic story.
That one's also tougher for me with the Xbox thing going on right now.
Was that an Xbox studio that made it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Damn. I knew it was on Game Pass. I just didn't know if it was let me look that up. Who made that?
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now, South of Midnight, but I'm pretty sure that's an Xbox Game Studio thing. Yeah, published by Xbox Game Studios.
Ah, damn. Okay.
That's
a bummer.
Morally tough. I'm sure the game is great. I'm sure the developer's great. It's just hard to
who did make that?
Hard to reward Microsoft.
Compulsion?
Yeah.
Oh, they're like part of Xbox, aren't they?
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. We'll see. Like I think this month I'll be telling you to play Donkey Kong. I don't think you plan on picking that up at launch. I think that you'll probably...
Not at launch. I do figure I'll probably end up playing that game at some point. I know I've got some big games for me coming up the rest of this year. We do have a Super Robot Wars game. We do have a new Digimon story game.
Pokemon.
Yep. Legends.
And you don't care about Metroid Prime, right?
No. God.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are some new games and some of my favorite franchises, and I definitely know that I've got my work cut out for me. So I probably should just actually start finishing some games before and get some things off the backlog before new stuff hits.
You should just make a 2025 wheel.
No. I already have too many wheels that I've been ignoring for months. I should go back and just finish Earthbound as well. Free myself from Earthbound, not let myself get dragged down and never finish that.
All this stuff.
That's a big one that just classically need to know more about.
I'm looking at, just give me 1 second here. I'm making sure I didn't miss anything for you. You were...
I don't need any more games.
Did you play a game about digging a hole? I can't remember if you played that.
No, I did not.
Yeah, fair. Let's wrap this damn thing up before I tell you to play even more dumb games.
Yes, please.
All right. We covered quite a bit tonight here on the show. Really appreciated the Gacha conversation. Was not expecting that, but I thought that was good.
Yeah. I think there was some interesting stuff there. Like not quite a deep dive, but we
shallow dive.
Dove. We dove.
So we talked about a lot about Nine Kings, which we are enjoying the early access of together. You can watch us play that on any of our VODs, which are on Twitch and YouTube. I continue to be digging Death Stranding 2. I'm hoping Chase will join me in that enjoyment. Sounds like he'll have some thoughts on that next week. We also heard more about Gundam Generation Eternal. Close enough. That gets me at least a chip in.
Yeah, sure.
So, a lot of fun stuff to talk about. We stream Nine Kings, as I called out. I'm going to show you all the new base, which is looking really cool on Dune Awakening. We have aligned our guild and ourselves to Atreides, and therefore I've got unlocked the building materials. So we have a very Atreides looking building. Get those pasty fucking Harkonnens away from me. Don't need to talk to them at all. But yeah, that's what we got lined up this week. You can follow along with all of those cool things by clicking on the cool link, which is that one right there in chat. And for even more cool stuff, and some cool stuff in the works, I guess we could say, for Chasey K Plays, what do you got there?
Yeah, Chasey K Plays is off this week. I decided to take a break. Because we finished Split Fiction, which was really cool. I've got the next game. I know what it's going to be. Looking forward to playing it, but I just had a busy week with a bunch of other stuff going on, and I thought, I don't need to kill myself to put one of these out, so I'll just wait a week. That'll be nice. But I'm really excited. I don't quite want to announce it until I know that it's out there and I've got one in the can and know that it's good. But fingers crossed that next week we'll be talking about the new series for Chase Play.
Hell yeah.
In the meantime, there is a new episode of Pilot Program out there. Pierce and I did our Rocco's Modern Life episode. It was a lot of fun. We got to talk quite a bit about cartoons. We talked about some of our favorite cartoon theme songs. I got to talk about like being a Nickelodeon kid by default, because we didn't have Cartoon Network when I on my TV when I was growing up. And you know, anytime you go to like a hotel or you go to your grandparents' place and then they've got these, like, oh, look at all these exotic cartoons like Cow and Chicken. I've never seen anything like this. This is crazy. Or you go to a hotel and they're playing Dragon Ball Z and it's like, what the fuck is this?
Garbage.
No. Oh, that's so bad. I didn't talk about it on the episode, but then we got bamboozled like by our cable package. And at some point they were like, no, you don't get Nickelodeon, you don't get TNN, you don't get any of these channels, but you know, instead we struck a deal with Cartoon Network, so here you can have Cartoon Network now. So I lost Nickelodeon and gained Cartoon Network, and that was such a good trade. I love Nickelodeon, but man, getting Dexter's awesome. Lab, it kicks the shit out of basically every
Adult
Nicktoon
so
ever
good
made.
Too.
But it was really fun talking about Rocco's Modern Life, which was a big favorite growing up, and we had a great time. So
that's awesome.
Go listen to that episode, and we're recording another episode tomorrow, which is
tomorrow.
Is we had a big break between episodes, and then this one we had basically no break. I wondered if we were going to be recording this show before I was able to edit the last one.
Damn.
Thankfully, I found time to get the Rocco out, but we're going to be watching MTV Cribs. That's going to be a wild one because the original episode of Cribs feels like it's lost to time. I have clips of it, but I don't think they're the original clips. We're going to have a big, interesting conversation about it and probably talk a lot about lost media as well, just in that this is not something you can really get these days. And you know, what television shows are worthy of preserving, and how are we doing that? A similar conversation that we've had about video games before.
Absolutely.
So look forward to that one. Hopefully we'll record tomorrow, and then I can get that up within the next week. So new pilot program coming soon.
Very cool. Well, thanks for the discussion tonight. Thank you all for watching and listening. We will be live again Friday night with Dune Awakening. And then keep an eye out on our upcoming schedules for our potential Casual Monday